What's up guys, TheJordude's here, back again with another Shadowverse video, and this is going to be episode 3 of TheJordude's notable picks. And so this is a series where I talk about interesting, cool cards in the upcoming expansion Wonderland Dreams for Shadowverse. And this is 100% my opinions, so if you have different opinions about cards or something I missed out on, make sure you comment down below so we can talk about them. The first one we're going to talk about is the new Shadowcraft Legendary, and that is Dark Alice. So she is a 7-cost 5/5, evolves into a 7/7. And her last word's effect is banish all allied Shadowcraft cards in play and summon a Dark Alice. At the start of your next turn, banish all Shadowcraft cards in your hand and your deck. And her evolved effect is the same. So, Dark Alice, if I understand this correctly, the banishing all Shadowcraft cards is not like a cost, it's actually just like a side effect. So if there's no Shadowcraft cards in your deck, in your hand, etc., then it doesn't matter. Dark Alice should still resummon itself, from my understanding. So pretty much Dark Alice is like a Mordecai, except she costs 1 less play point, where with the downside being she's going to get rid of all your Shadowcraft cards. So like for the one play point cheaper, I do think she's like a really good card, and that she will replace Mordecai, especially in the neutral heavy shadow decks. Unless you want to be playing like a lot of shadow cards, like there's a lot of good shadow cards, right? Like Death Breath, Zombie Party, Nephthys, if you're playing a control style, Kawi. There's a lot of good Shadowcraft cards, so it's going to depend. We're going to have to see how Shadow evolves after the expansion. Like, is it going to go the neutral path, or is there like a good Shadow core and build with it where you want to play Dark Alice? Because if that's the case, then Dark Alice won't be played. However, if neutral is like a super heavy in the meta, then Dark Alice I could definitely see being good and replacing Mordecai. But yeah, overall, like it's pretty much Mordecai, but slightly better if you're playing the neutral package. So I do think Dark Alice is good on paper, but we're gonna have to see how Shadow evolves after the release. The next card I want to talk about is not Corpse Lord of Woe, because that card's pretty bad. But Ded Moroz, like when I saw this card, I was like, wow, that's stats. A 5 cost is a gold follower Shadowcraft. 5 cost for 5/7 evolves into a 7/9. So premium stats for a 5 cost. And the fanfares destroy all other allied Shadowcraft followers and restore X defense to your leader, X equaling the number of followers destroyed by the effect. So this effect is obviously meant for as a negative effect, because at most you're going to be healing 4 if you have 4 Shadowcraft followers on the board. But in most cases, this card is going to be played in a neutral heavy deck, so you're not going to be killing off too many of your own dudes. Best case is you're not killing anything and you're just getting a 5 cost 5/7. Like, that's so good stats. That's pretty much like 5/7 is like a 5 drop that's already evolved, except it's not. So like Ded Moroz is pretty crazy. But we're gonna have to see if just stats is good enough in the upcoming meta, because we do see that there's a lot of big statted followers in this expansion already. So maybe a 5/7 is not like amazing anymore after we see all the cards. Maybe it's just like maybe slightly better than average because it has a negative effect, but it might not be like extraordinary where you're going to be running in all your shadow decks. So we're going to have to see how with more releases of cards, but for now 5/7 is insane. So yeah, definitely Ded Moroz is a card to look out for. The next card I want to talk about is the Blood Gold, and that is Emeralda, Demonic Officers. It's a 7 cost 4/5, evolves into 6/7, and her fanfare is destroy an enemy follower amulet, and so pretty much execution. And gain Storm if Vengeance is active for you. So it's another card that could potentially have Storm. Blood has quite a bit of Storm cards, with a fair bit having the Vengeance part being attached to it. But Emeralda, like, it looks pretty solid as something you would be playing in a probably control blood, or at most like, or at least like a mid-range blood, because they're pretty expensive. I don't know if you would be hesitant at playing Emeralda and Kerberos in the same deck because that might have some anti-synergy. But like, for example, if I'm playing a control deck, I would definitely play this card because it has the potential for Storm, which is very possible if you're playing control. Because you'll be playing Blood Moons, you're going to be taking damage from early game, you're going to have, what's that 3-cost card called that does 6 to yourself and you draw every turn? You guys know what I'm talking about. I can't think of it at the top of my head, but yeah, it's... Control Blood's going to be going down to Vengeance, almost certainly. Unless it's against an air control matchup. So Emeralda looks really good. If it has Vengeance, it's insane, but just the fanfare itself is like good because you're destroying a follower or an amulet. So like the fact, it's like even more bonus that you can kill an amulet with it too. Like this card counters the dragon amulet, right? Like for dragon they take their entire turn 7 playing tilting at windmills, and then you play Emeralda as a answer and you totally destroy them. So yeah, this card looks really good. We're going to have to see if Control Blood picks up, because right now Control Blood is pretty dead. So we're going to have to see how it goes and how the meta shifts. Okay, the last cards I want to be talking about is the neutral cards. So first off, the legendary Queen of the Dread Sea is a 10-cost 7/7, evolves into a 9/9, and her fanfare is change the cost of a neutral card, excluding herself, and a non-neutral card in your hand to 0. Then discard all other cards in your hand. So she has a lot of different combos you can do with her actually. The most obvious combos is like you play it in Dragon and then you have either the Windmills Amulet set up, or you could just play Genesis Dragon and Erd or something like that to push like 14-16 damage. If you have the Windmills set up already, you could do a lot more. You could do like, I don't even know, you could drop Bahamut, and I guess you wouldn't be able to drop Bahamut because it kills everything else. You could play like Lucifer, and I don't know what else is big. Israfil. I don't know. There's so many different combos where you could do a lot of damage and a lot of burst damage if you have the right pieces together. So Queen of Dread Sea looks pretty promising in Dragons. She could be probably used in other cards as well. She maybe like discard Dragon because she does discard your hand. So maybe that works. I don't know. But overall, she seems really good, especially in Dragons. I'm not too we're gonna have to see about other classes, but most likely not other classes. But it's going to be fun to see what kind of combos people come up with the Queen. And if she's even going to be good, because she might be just like one of those really cheesy cards because it does discard your entire hand, and gathering combo pieces might be too hard, and then this card just falls off. But in my opinion, I do think this card will see quite a bit of play. Okay, the last card we're going to be talking about in this video is Into the Looking Glass. It's a 2-cost silver neutral spell, and its effect is draw a card and change all cards in your hand and in play that cost 7 play points or less into neutral cards. So it's a pretty simple effect. At minimum, it's cycling the card, so you're not ever going negative with this card. And the plus side with this is actually, at first glance, you think the effect doesn't really do much, but it actually does a lot with a lot of the neutral supports after releasing with this deck. So like Into the Looking Glass could combo well with, first of all, it could combo well with tilting at windmills to set up some kind of big storm combos, like with Red Rage Worm. It makes all your cards neutral for Ded Moroz, so it doesn't kill anything. It makes all your Swordcraft followers into neutral, so it doesn't bounce back your Cinderella. It makes your hand all neutral for your Elf Twins Assault. And there's more cards that they revealed on Twitter and stuff that requires you to have neutral cards in your hand, or on the board. And so Into the Looking Glass will make sure that all your cards are going to be neutral, so this card is going to be really good in your neutral support package, and it's going to help set up like all your different synergies, especially if you're playing like those core craft cards, then you definitely be playing this. So like, aside from 2 costs being like in the early mid game is kind of hard to use, it's going to take up a lot of your turn. I do think this card is going to be good, especially if you could weave it in a turn, or it's just used late game. And at worst, it's just cycling your card. So even like if it's the only card in your hand, at least you could just cycle it away, right? So yeah, it does look very promising. I do think this card will be played in like 90% of the neutral, maybe 90 is too much, maybe like 80% of the neutral decks out there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If there was anything I missed out on, or if you have more opinions about certain cards, make sure you comment down below. And if you enjoyed, make sure you subscribe and check out the links down below so you can follow me on my various social media channels. And thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one. Peace. A lot of times, so if you play Abomination Awaken like early on, say just throw it on turn 3, and then you play cards that either continue cycling or you play like a Fate's Hand, so you +1, then like Abomination, once its effect